The children have lots of lessons to give us.
Do you have any stories to share?
He couldn't speak till class 1. He had speech fault and he had a hearing impairment also.
Okay.
He was the school topper in 10th, in 12th, first go
Really?
IIT Kharagpur.
Sometimes the environment of the school may also bring fear for children.
Optimistic household creates optimistic children. During COVID, we saw a lot of frustration in our kids when they returned because in the four walls of the homes, they realized those things which were hidden from them. At home, she was very silent. Her mother said, "Ma'am, उसने तो कभी कुछ बोला ही नहीं." And here she would break rules.
This is a clear example that marks don't define the child, right? But honestly speaking, ma'am, how much a parent understand this? How much parent believe in this?
Some of them are rigid.
Is there competition amongst the students or among the parents?
Just hold a finger. Just give your hand to hold on. Don't be the crutches.
To reach to the goal, you have to fail many times.
Once a child speaks about his or her failure, the confidence boomerangs. I had very dirty handwriting. She behaves like a pig.
Do you think parents today trust the school less than what they used to do like before?
It's a partnership. The school,
But do they realize that it's a partnership?
No, they want changes, but they don't want to contribute. You may not have quantity time, but you must have quality time for your kids.
Parents and the school should be on the same page. Children, when they come up with some abusive words, then parents say हमारे घर में तो कोई बोलता ही नहीं है.
It's not necessary that वो घर में ही सुन रहा है. I call it the ABCDEF skill.
How do we know that the child is actually happy?
Board topper in 10th, board topper in 12th, then he's a commissioned Air Force officer now.
Someone who may not have topped but doing very well.
Life can be really harsh with you, but you don't complain. You do the dreams of someone who has gone. Love should never change to fear. I would like to change the definition of success.
Yes. And what would it be? Children are not things to be molded, but people to be unfolded. And perhaps in today's world, that's something we need to remind ourselves of. Because behind every mark sheet, every achievement, and every expectation, there is a child with emotions, dreams, fears, and unique journey. Welcome to another episode of Podcast Vibe with Neha, where we go beyond the obvious and have conversations that make us pause, reflect, and sometimes even question what we have always believed. Today, we want to explore that journey from the perspective of someone who has spent years observing children from the principal's chair, Dr. Reena Pathak. She's the principal at Seth M.R. Jaipuria School, Goel campus. She brings with her years of experience of observing children, parents, teachers, and the changing landscape of education. And today, we'll not have a conventional conversation about school, marks, or academic success. We'll ask her what happens behind the scenes. So let's have an honest conversation about children, parenting, education, and the world we are preparing them for. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to Podcast Vibe with Neha.
Thank you, Neha.
It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am.
It's my pleasure too.
Ma'am, you have sat in principal's chairs for years. So if your chair could speak, what would it say about today's children?
The children have lots of lessons to give us. When we sit on that chair, we realize that they are not just individuals. They have some lurking fears, some emotions, and some insecurities which need a sort of vent out. And that vent out is best done in the schools. Because there are children who have disturbed homes, there are children who may not have, a peer connect where they could have opened up. And in the schools, within the periphery of maybe their classmates, their teachers, and then again the attachment to their peers or their seniors, and kind of confidence that they build, they speak up. And when they speak up, they have some visible stories which are lessons to learn. And that actually keeps us going. And so over the years, it has been a passion more than a profession.
Great, ma'am. So, ma'am, do you have any stories to share? Have you seen any child particularly remember the struggle of any child which you want to share?
Yeah, I'll definitely share. I had many such children because now it's more than 36 years in the teaching profession, more than 24 years as a principal. So we had many such episodes where we did learn from our own kids that when a time comes when everything is bleak and dark and you are actually in dismay and despair, you can still pull up the strings and stand strong. I had one child, many such children, but one child whom I would love to mention. That is a child, I'll not name the child
Yes, of
because
course,
that would be wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, he couldn't speak till class 1. He had speech fault and he had a hearing impairment also.
Okay.
And but the doctors used to say that if he goes to school, amongst his peers, he would learn better. And his mother was a wonderful lady. Like she approached me when the child had grown up a little bit, and I offered her a job. Like she was feeling insecure that how could she leave the child within the premises without any constant
Assistance.
watch. So I had offered her an administrator's post, and I told her, you won't go to the classes, but you can watch him. And I had seen the doting mother. I learnt a lot from her too. And that child, you won't believe, in one of the annual functions, he did perform on the synthesizer alone.
My God,
And
amazing.
that was something which even the management did not, take it very nicely, that ma'am, you never allow individual performances in annual functions, so how are you doing it? I said maybe that will be a morale booster to him, and it did work wonders. He got almost a standing ovation. He played so well. I think he played Richard Cledemans one number, and if I remember correctly, and he was the school topper in 10th, in 12th, first go
Really?
IIT Kharagpur, and then his MBA. And nowadays writes lovely blogs, and he is the most sensitive student till date who is in touch with me.
With this-
So he was he was a learner for us, a learner for life.
Learn of
We learnt a lot from him.
Amazing.
So many such episodes.
What a
too.
transformation a school can do for children.
Lots. Like a school's role can be manifold because children come up with some insecurities and fears. We need to, because there's lots which nature and nurture together combine to make the personality of the person, the individual, and we have to realize that the potential is within. Every child is unique.
Yes.
And if the school is that flexible to realize that uniqueness, then we give an openness to the child. The child is aware that nobody would be judgmental in what he is doing, then he or she does actually get groomed in the correct destination.
Yeah. Now, when the child enters the school, he's very confident, like, he feels that he can speak. But do you think that over the period of time, he develops kind of fear to speak? And, sometimes the environment of the school may also bring fear for children. So, what is the role of, the teacher or the educator to let the child have that natural nature of curiosity being just there and it is not turned into fear?
We have to first and foremost be very, very patient listeners as educators. We must be very observant. We must be open to questions. We must allow the child to ask questions, because unless we nurture the curiosity of the child, the fear will remain lurking somewhere
Forever.
behind. So that is why I think CBSE has made it a mandate that every school must have a special educator as well as a counselor. Because in our days, our teachers themselves were counselors.
Yes.
They
And
were
now
very
also,
much,
I think.
most of the teachers are. But now, because of the curriculum pattern or whatever the reason, the pressures, the teachers also seldom have that much of time to speak to the students. But yeah, the ones who do so, they do wonderful jobs, because some of the fears, the insecurities which the children have, maybe which was lurking somewhere, which the child was unable to speak about, does come up with a soft, caress, a kind conversation, an observant eye, a listening ear, that does wonders for such children.
Ma'am, do you have any experience to share, since you have a vast experience of 25 years almost? So do you have any experience where the child was struggling and he couldn't speak at home, but in the school he was able to speak?
There are both kinds of children. Some who speak a
Yeah.
lot at home, but they are silent at
Quiet,
school,
yeah.
and vice versa. That is, they are very much vocal at the school, but very closed in the home. So the reasons are basically they have been compared. There are many aspirations which have been, sort of burdened onto them. There's lots of kind of fears which the parents have created because they themselves were pessimistic. An optimistic household creates optimistic children. A pessimistic household, some way or the other, we don't do it intentionally, but it does filter down to our kids.
Yeah, because kids are learning by observing.
Yeah.
So
And that was the main reason that during COVID, we saw a lot of frustration in our kids when they returned. Because in the four walls of the homes, they realized those things which were hidden from them when they were in the 6 hours of schools. They realized those things which maybe they were not known to them. So those things, they created a lot of frustrations in the minds of our children, and these are the children who need that support system, and we should have an outreach kind of a way by which they could give vent up to their emotions.
yeah, any such, ma'am, example where the child was struggling maybe at home to speak up and
Yeah, there were many such examples. Again, I'll not name such children, but
Yeah.
there was a child. She was not a very good performer in academics, and but she was, you can say, she wouldn't like to follow any norms and rules, and there were too many distractions, and she would try to have the attention, an attention seeker.
How old was she?
Like her, these outbursts were visible after class 8.
After class
8th,
teenage.
9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Okay.
I've seen
For
her
4 years.
through those years. And there was a drastic change in her. When I started speaking to her, I gave her long hours of counseling sessions. So I realized that there was some trauma at home which she was not able to speak to anybody. I'll not like to share that also. And for that, due to nervousness and due to a fear that maybe her hidden secret would be revealed, she would like spit out blood, and all medical tests showed normalcy. So the mother was also very confused. Mother was again a doting mother, very caring, very supportive, and she was very concerned that how to improve, the kind of behavior tantrums she was having and everything. So we made her realize on a focus that was CLAT. And both the mother took great keen interest, and I forced her to join the coachings for CLAT, and she did well. Before her board results, she got a very good score in CLAT, and now she is
She's
doing really, really well. And she keeps in touch too. And I saw that at home she was very silent. Her mother said, "Ma'am, इसने तो कभी कुछ बोला ही नहीं." And here she would break rules just to get the attention. And when she did get the attention, her focus was defined. And even though she didn't do very well in the boards, but because her destination was defined, so she became a very, very, big inspiration for her juniors.
Yeah, mark. It is beyond marks, like.
Yeah, it is definitely beyond marks.
And ma'am, who identified this, that the girl is having this problem? Like she needs
Like
counseling.
her behavior in the classroom, And
Teachers have noticed.
Yeah, the teachers did notice. Then her friends started noticing. Then even I noticed. Like, if we would say that today is a Wednesday, you'd have to come in PT uniform, she would do just the opposite.
Like that, rebellious.
Like that, a rebellious,
Rebellious
kind of. So
child.
it was tough, but it was not something which was
Impossible.
It took some time. It was a gradual process, but it did make vast changes in the girl also and in our system also. Lot of sensitivity in our teachers, because many of them thought, that it is just a feigned act. Never people believed that maybe she's seeking attention, ma'am, she's doing it purposefully. I said nobody would spit out blood. That cannot be feigned. Like, we cannot absolutely say that. So,
How she used to do that? Like,
no, that
some
was her
medic-
nervous outbreak. That the doctor said that she has some anxiety issues. Even during exams, even in winter, she would be sweating, and and after that, when she built up her confidence, everything vanished.
Everything is fine.
So these are some things which do teach us that no, every child is not the same, and it's not only the question of differentiated instruction, it is also the question of differentiated handling, because each child needs a different handling method.
Yes. And how you identified that, she's made for this CLAT? Like, generally...
Because her discussions used to be very, very interesting.
On point.
And she would come to conclusions very fast. Critical thinking was, too good.
And she was able to convince you with her.
She was. Even if she did something wrong, she was able to say why she was wrong. So that requires courage. And that requires a lot of critical thinking, I believe, which she had.
Yes.
And she still has. She proves her point.
Definitely.
She proves her point.
Definitely. Now she's a lawyer.
In fact, she inspires me also in many ways.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Lovely. Ma'am, you said that the girl didn't score much in the boards, but she had a defined path. So this is a clear example that marks don't define the child, right? But honestly speaking, ma'am, how much a parent understand this? How much parent believe in this?
And there are very few parents who believe that marks
don't define
a child. Most of the parents, and it's not their fault, because society believes that success is through identification, success is through success.
Success is through how much the child...
stories that you have created. Success is through the inspiration that you are to others. So these pressures on the parents, sometimes there are different kinds of pressures also, monetary stress, everything is there which combines to this kind of a feeling. It's not an intentional thing which parents do. Yeah, but some of them are rigid, that's no doubt. But yet we do have some parents who are very, very open to the kinds of profiles the students want to choose. And in fact, with the growing years, I'm seeing a vast difference in the kind of parents, because they are open to information.
Yes.
They are very accurate in their search. They're very defined in the goals of their kids. And they don't like to barge into those dimensions also. Some parents are like that also. But yeah, marks cannot be a performance criteria.
Yeah. Success. Marks can't define your success also.
No, not
like
at all.
that girl.
Yeah. Your worth is your own. And it's a unique value, which cannot be measured by marks.
Yeah.
That is why the silos for the subjects also, now there are no core subjects like streams in CBSE also we are saying. We are talking about credit points. Why are we doing this? Because we are talking about portfolio of children.
Yes.
We are talking about ethics. We are talking about values. We are talking about life skills. So why are we doing that? To make the child realize that we cannot ever measure you by your academic growth.
I think children are understanding because the school is making them aware of their potential, not just like academically, but as per your values, your the
skill sets.
Your skill sets. Yeah. But parents, is there competition amongst the students or among the parents?
You can't say it's a competition. It is like a thing which has been developed through the generations, and it will take some time for the
Some
parents
generations only to
realize that every child can carve a niche for himself or herself. I believe in Osho's words that you should just hold a finger, just give your hand to hold on. Don't be the crutches.
Yes.
The children don't know denial. The children have never been refused. They have no acceptance of failures because the parents, the homes have been like that. Everything which is successful is good, and a failure has to be hidden. But why?
Yeah.
If we don't realize our failures, how do we succeed?
Yeah.
So, a child
And to
should
reach
also
to the
realize-
goal, you have to fail many times.
Yeah, many times.
People see the success, but they don't see the failures
There
which
will always
behind
be
it.
a hush-hush kind of a secret
Yeah.
attitude.
I think people
towards
should
failure.
come out more with their failures
Yes,
than
yeah.
their successes, stories.
Because once a child speaks about his or her failure, the confidence boomerangs.
Yes.
And your antagonist is always your best helper.
Yeah.
A critic can only tell you where you stand.
Yeah.
A person who's always praising you will never tell you your real worth.
Absolutely.
You will not know where you are faltering.
Yeah.
Even I had that experience in childhood. I had very dirty handwriting, and there was one teacher who did point it out, and she called my sister. She used to call us Mishra sisters, and she said, "Call that Mishra sister." So my sister was called into the class, and she said that she behaves like a pig. I'll not name the teacher, but I still look up to that teacher, because if she would not have done that, the next weekly test we would have, when we were in St. Joseph's Convent, Chandanagar. So the next weekly test that we had was geometry, which required perfection, precision, neatness. And I made it my point. My sister's head went down because of me, and my geometry copy was pulled up in the assembly. It was shown to everybody.
Oh, amazing.
So that was something that I realized, that yes, we do fail, and through our failures we do. And I tell this story to all my students because I still
But ma'am,
teach.
that is a very, like in today's scenario, if some teacher calls the child pig, I think parents will
parents
not
would come out.
parents will,
The
it will not go
parents-
well with the parents.
It won't go well. Because in our times, our teachers were like role models, and whatever they said was, a kind of something which was like a mark on our heads. So, but today's children have not been exposed to such,
So is it a
brutal
good
facts.
thing or?
To some extent, I think that is interference. If we let the child, find his or her own path, I think they will do better.
Yeah.
Because they are mature enough due to the exposure.
Yes.
In our times, we did not have that much of exposure too. We are there, standing really behind them, beside them. So we can hold them if they fall. But at least let them walk. We are not allowing them to walk. So that's the main difference.
So, ma'am, if a parent is listening to us right now and the child, his or her child has just scored less marks, so what the parent should, convey to the child in the first 5 minutes when they know that, okay, he has got less marks?
See, ideally, the parents should be very calm than create a corrective. Because if a child has not performed, it is his or her failure. So you must understand that there is trauma in the child there too. So if we are going to burst, that will sort of not in any way save the situation. It would actually block the growth of the child. So first and foremost, we must be calm, then corrective. And secondly, we then should try to find out the real reason, the cause of that, fall of marks or decline in the scores or whatever. Because there can be many issues, maybe the understanding issues, maybe some panic situation, some focus disorientation. There can be many issues which may have hampered the child's performance. So once we speak to the child and then we allow the child to open up, we may get certain things which can help us work for the near future. instead of bursting, because once we burst, we lock all doors. To keep the key in our hands, we need to be calm. Then only we can have the key to all the locks of our children.
So nowadays, what parents do is, mom, they're calm for 5 minutes, and then later on they start, taunting the child. So that is also the thing. Like, okay, पहले 5 minute चुप रहेंगे, कुछ नहीं बोलेंगे. But as the time passes, वो taunt आ जाता है कहीं ना कहीं बच्चे के ऊपर कि see how much you scored less, and still you're not studying.
Yeah, so that it should not be like a taunt. It should be more like after the 5 to 10 minutes of calm, composed behavior, the child also realizes that I went wrong, but my father, my mother are beside me. They are standing. Because faith makes, lot, trust, faith, it makes lot of a difference.
And this will also affect the psychology of the child in a way that when he or she becomes a parent, so they also know how to react to certain situations.
They will know.
Because children are learning from parents' behavior, from teachers' behavior, from everyone they are observing. So today's the child is shaped up in the today's environment by many people, not just by family or school, by social media, by AI. So I think the child is observing and learning from everyone. So in a way, if we react in a certain way, the child is learning that also, that in such situations I have to react in this way, right?
Yeah.
So it is going to help in his growth, definitely, in a positive way, the behavior of a parent.
And most importantly, we must walk the talk.
Yeah.
Because if our failures are going to affect us, and maybe we throw tantrums or we, show temper outbursts or whatever, irritability, then children will also imbibe those.
Yes.
So the environment, that's what I said, nature and nurture, both actually help in the development.
Do you think parents today trust the school less than what they used to do like before?
You can't say that actually, but nowadays parents, they require more of transparency. They are more vocal, they are more informed, they are more sensitive. And whatever they do, it's because of the concern, the love of their wards.
Yes.
Basically, if you go to see, it's a partnership. The school,
but do they realize that it's a partnership?
No, most of them don't. They see the school and the home as opposed.
Yeah.
But it is not juxtaposed.
Yes.
It is in partnership. Because the home and school, when they work together, then the clay that is molded is an idol, which will be an ideal creation. So that is something which very few parents realize. And they come more with complaints than suggestions. There's a vast difference.
Yes.
If you were coming with suggestions, then I don't think there would be a school which will not take up suggestions, because everybody wants to strive for perfection.
Yes.
And an organization definitely does. So parents should realize. And that transformation is visible. That is visible, that today's parents are maybe more, they are involved but interfering. They are sensitive but over-concerned. They want changes but they don't want to contribute.
They don't want to contribute, right. So ma'am, are they understanding the pressures which, school is having?
Yeah, some of them do. In fact, during COVID, most of them did.
During COVID, of course.
They realized, I think most schools will vouch on this, the principals would say that the pre-primary teachers, they were actually looked up to after COVID. Because then they realized the patience, the tolerance, the resilience, the kind of commitment, the devotion, the kind of work these teachers do for their TLMs.
Yes.
They realized that because the home didn't come to the school walked to their home through those screens.
Yes.
So that realization was great, and after that we did see a marked change in most of the mindsets. They started having more respect for teachers.
For how long this continued, ma'am? Like,
This continued for quite some time. In fact, till more than, I think, till last year, it was very much visible. And again, this year, because there were some changes in the exam patterns and other things, whatever changes come, they fail to realize that they are the changes from the board.
from the
They
board
f-
and for the
and from
betterment of the
huh.
child, for the
Yeah.
education system.
How much ever you educate them or inform them that these changes have been made and these are the repercussions, like what if we don't do it, and if we do it, what will be the value add.
Benefited, yeah,
So
benefits.
some of them, but 60% only realize that. 40% do remain who have, they'll keep cribbing and they'll have lots of queries and doubts.
Ma'am, like the changes, if we are talking about the changes, like nowadays, the changes which are coming from CBSE is more of like skill-based changes. Like it is a transformation of our traditional way of studying, like the written work, to the skill mode, right? So parents are not understanding that, right? But that is the future our children are stepping into. How to make parents aware of this fact that, future is skill-based learning? How to get them on the same page as school, if I'll
The
put it like
best
that.
way is to keep them informed, but information cannot be through sessions.
Yeah.
Information can only be through involvement. And involvement can be through the different genres in which our parents work. We can get them involved as, guest speakers. We can get them involved. Like in our campus, at Goel campus, we have a parents' library too.
Oh,
Because and every first Sunday of the month we have parents who are enrolled for the library, because we saw a decline in the reading habits of our kids, and we
but this is a
wanted
lovely way to inculcate reading in
so,
students.
yeah, so we understood that the link is through the parents, because दादा दादी की कहानियाँ, नाना नानी की कहानियाँ हम तो सुन के बड़े हुए, but आज के ज़माने में children are in nuclear homes.
Yeah.
They need to be parents need to be told that connect we cannot remove from. No matter, you may not have quantity time, but you must have quality time for your kids. So if they are informed in such small ways, like keep them involved, let them walk into the school. You cannot have like sessions for class 5, 6, 7, 8, all parents.
Yeah.
Then that becomes just like a discourse. It's not something like where some learning has happened or it has impacted their mindset in any way.
And when we have these sessions, how many parents turn up, ma'am?
Yeah, that's what they don't. And half the time it's more on the screen than on the listening part, the observation part. So when we get them involved in activities of the school, for the school, by the school, then we create awareness, and that awareness definitely works. Then they realize, like at present, they are realizing that dummy schools are not for their welfare. They should not indulge in, more. They should cater to that 75% attendance norm of CBSE. Now most parents are realizing, and sometimes your alumni also can help in this. When they speak,
Yes.
then it impacts the generation which is just below them, and then it impacts the homes.
Yes, and they should talk about their failures. I always think that failure should be spoken more than success stories, because that's how they learn. They can relate to it
Yeah, they
more.
relate to it.
More.
Because everything flowery and everything beautiful, if it is visible to them, then they are not in a realistic world.
Yes.
That's an idealistic situation, and then they imbibe that as their own world.
Yes.
So that will break. They would be shattered if they fail. So we must make them realize the realities.
Yes, and parents and the school should be on the same page,
Same
so
page.
that
It should be a partnership.
yeah.
It should not be opposed.
Because if home is speaking another language and school is speaking something else, the child will always be in dilemma that what should I do?
Total confusion.
Yeah. Same, ma'am, for corporal punishments also, I think. Like in schools, we say that, you cannot even speak to a child in a way that, he feels hurted. And at home, they're beaten up, lying by the parents, and still it is going on. But in school, parents want कि हमारे बच्चे को कुछ मत करो. ऐसे कैसे होगा मैम? जो बच्चा आपने ऐसा बना दिया कि वो सुनता ही नहीं है बिना डांट के, बिना मार के, तो स्कूल में वो कैसे सुनेगा टीचर्स? मतलब सुनाते ही हैं टीचर्स बिकॉज ऑफ this corporal punishment.
Because that double standards always confuse
the child. Yeah.
The child is at the butt of all kinds of confusion.
And I think it is making children distant from their parents.
Yeah.
Because when they see the teacher is reacting in a certain way, she is not scolding, she is not beating the child if child is doing something, which is not to be done. Whereas at home, when the child is doing the same thing, parents are beating him up or beating her up. So I think it is distancing also from the child from the parents. It is definitely creating a traumatic kind of a confused state of a child.
A good rapport between the home and the school will definitely create greater miracles.
Yeah. The upbringing should be like together.
Always together. That's the major cause of the insecurities, the anxieties, the fears, because they are in a dilemma that actually which is the correct path.
Yeah.
So that creates lot of anxious moments for them. And they are not able to discern then the right path.
Yes. The effort which school is putting to connect like with the child, I think the same effort should be from the parents' side also. Definitely there are some parents who are well connected to the child, open communication is there, they speak like every day what is happening and what is not happening in the school, at home. But more, I think it should be the parents.
No, nowadays because parents are getting more informed and they are becoming more aware and they are seeing the disturbances which are visibly, in society. Some of them, most of them, maybe I was telling 60% of them have changed. They do listen. They do give chance to speak. They do give potential and outburst. They do that.
And children nowadays, ma'am, this Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they are so much aware of what they have, what they want in life, how they want to live.
They are very focused.
Very focused.
It's wrong to say that they are not focused because they are very focused.
They are focused, they know what they want. Yeah. But then when somebody tells this you can't have, you have to go this path, then they have problems. Then they create problems also.
That is because they've not had that acceptance of denial.
Yeah.
Somewhere in their childhood, they asked for a mobile, like parents are working, they have guests at home to keep the child busy. The best thing is hand over the mobile.
Yeah.
So in the whole run, we have been the creators of this and we are the ones who are complaining.
Yeah.
Where is the child at fault? Yeah. The child is not at fault at all.
Ma'am, handing over the mobile is like, initially we used to stop children like no screen time. I haven't seen before pandemic parents are giving mobile to children, but during pandemic, how much is enough for the child? And we cannot run from the technology.
Yeah, we cannot run, but anything should be used, not misused.
Yeah, excess of everything is bad.
A child doesn't realize that because the child doesn't have the maturity to judge. Discernment comes only once you are mature enough to decide that what is good for you, what is bad for you.
And how to make the children listen to the parents, like
parents.
Because parents always say, "हमारी तो सुनता नहीं है, आप ही बोलो मैम."
They can be counseled back to respectful behavior.
Yeah.
They can be. Because a child can have a mentor maybe in his teacher, maybe in his friend, maybe even in his junior. It's not necessarily senior. A child can be brought back to the correct path by seeing, by imitating, because that's what peer learning does. If a child sees that I am disrespectful to my father, but my friend speaks very well to his father, the child will definitely ask, like, what's the clue? How do you do this? Like, how are you so in good interaction with your parents? So when the child listens, there are very few children who will blame that I didn't get this childhood. They will see the wrong that they did. It's we adults who learn the art of blaming and complaining. Children seldom do that. They'll realize that no, even we can do this, and we can, bring back that warmth at the home.
Absolutely.
It can be imitated, ma'am, and it can be changed. Unless it's a very disturbed home. Some of them do have disturbed homes, so that counseling works. Counseling works. for
Ma'am,
us.
nowadays on the social media, when you see children, talking in a certain way, it is very disheartening to see the way, the younger generation is speaking about some of them. Some of them are very kind. So, where are we lacking?
We are lacking both ways, in the school also, at home also, because when the child was young, a small child, maybe of pre-primary or primary, the child did not see that respect of the school, maybe at home. When the child went back home,
Correct.
the father or the mother must have asked. They never ask, how was your day? They ask, आज हिंदी मैम ने मारा तो नहीं, आज सुनीता क्या बोली?
Oh, yeah.
So, what did the child learn?
Absolutely, ma'am. I think you've got the nerve of it.
So, what did the
Yeah.
child learn? See, in the childhood, the child will never imitate those, but they are the formative years of the child, the 0 to 5 years, and then 6 to 11 years. The child takes everything in the brain.
Yeah.
It's only after class 6 that these retaliations start. And they start in rebellious kind of actions. This is all an art of psychology which every parent should know, read, learn, get informed.
That the emotional foundation of the child is built up at home.
Yeah, the emotional stability should be so sound. That's why you will see some children who are very naughty in their childhood, but they become real, lovable, adorable kids when they grow up, because they had very, very joyful childhoods. What happened is that most of the homes, the childhood itself was destroyed. You made them mature before their age. You did not allow them to enjoy their childhood.
Yeah.
You told them things, you had gossip, you had bickerings, you had complainings in front of them.
Of school, of neighbors,
And
of relatives.
You thought they were busy playing, or they are
they
not
observe
listening,
everything.
but they were listening to everything. It all manifested together, and then it boomeranged. And then you say, why me?
Yeah.
So it is because you are the cause of what you have created. Yes, some conditions, there are challenges maybe later in life which the child suffers, and then the child changes. But most of the cases we do see that the respect cannot be taught. It is learned through the environment. A child sees good behavior, the child takes up good behavior. That is why the children learn the languages very fast, because they hear it every time. So it is difficult for a child to learn English because it's a foreign language not spoken at home, only spoken at school. So the child doesn't understand that, we have to speak it fluently. The homes where it is spoken, in the West, the children speak good English. They don't know. Like our children would be speaking very good Hindi because that's the dialect they hear. So it is something which children have imbibed maybe from their homes itself.
Yeah. From their homes, from
The
the environment they're living
environment,
in,
and
with
then the
whatever they're
circle.
hearing, like social media. Parents are
the
listening
friend
to
circle, they
the
get
friend
inspired
circle.
also.
Yes.
Too much influenced by their friend circle.
Especially the children when they come up with some abusive words. Then parents say हमारे घर में तो कोई बोलता ही नहीं है. But then we should keep a check that कौन बोल रहा है, कौन सी कंपनी में, like संगति प्रभाव.
It's not necessary that वो घर में ही सुन रहा है.
वही.
There are many people who walk into the home.
Yes.
Their tutors, their maids, attendants, maybe PNs to the job, the ones who have jobs, they must be having some PNs, they must be having some workers, gardeners. So any kind.
But we cannot create a vacuum, like for a child not to interact to such people. What we have to teach our children is that what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, that is to differentiate between what you are seeing may not always be right.
Yeah.
You have to take in and absorb only what is right.
Yes, what is right. We need to teach
And
that.
that we can only do by walking the talk.
Yes.
If we don't practice what we preach,
Preach,
we will never be able to inspire our children.
Absolutely. Ma'am, AI is changing the world faster than, our education system can adapt to. So, what do we have to teach our children which, AI cannot replace? Because everything is provided by AI. All the information is there. All the answers to the questions, be it related to syllabus or something, is there on AI. And it is more than what we can give to our children as a teacher, as a parent. So AI can definitely give answers more than what we can provide them. But then what is one thing which we need to give our children that AI cannot replace, so that,
It's not one thing. There are many skills
yeah,
which we need to develop in our children, which
For
AI
example?
cannot. I call it the A, B, C, D, E, F skill.
okay, A to F.
A to F.
Great.
So that is, A is the ability to ask questions. B is the bond, the relations that you build. C is the communication and the curiosity which you should always have. D is the discernment, that the judgment of the good and the bad you should have. E is empathy, and F is the focused creativity.
Oh, lovely.
If you have all these, then with AI, you would do wonders.
Yeah.
But without these, if you are into AI, maybe you would be on the wrong path. So if we have developed these skills, then the children would themselves decide what is good for them, what is bad for them, where is their focus, what are they curious about, for what do they need answers, for what do they need to frame questions. It's all done then.
And how do we develop all these skills in children?
It cannot be taught.
Yeah.
It is only through skill-based, competency-based teaching methods that this can be created.
Only teaching methods, ma'am, or
No, everything.
Everything. By observing
the
the
environment, the culture of the
culture,
school,
yeah.
the vision of the school, the mission of the school, everything should resonate with this. The children will adapt and adopt. They would follow whatever they see, whatever they actually feel as a culture. Because they understand that this is not an angry zone, this is a no angry zone, this is a no fear zone, happiness quotient is higher. They understand that, they feel it. And then they resonate with it. And once you resonate with something, you definitely are able to take things from there.
Ma'am, how do we evaluate these skills? Because these are the skills which probably, when they face some challenges in life, then only we would be able to see how the child is handling those things. And then only we see, yeah, he has critical thinking. So how do we evaluate these skills? Because this is the major part of our education system which we need to provide them so that they are ready for the future, right? Not academics, nothing more than these A to F skills which you're talking about. So, do we need to evaluate this? Do we need to put the child in some situation where we can evaluate these things?
They are not something which we need to evaluate it. We cannot measure these skills.
Yeah.
We can just check that are they thriving, or are they being developed, or are they evolving in the child.
But still, most of the time, the teacher is still completing the syllabus.
Completing
still into academics,
Yeah,
too much.
But the transformations are there. It will be a gradual process. Like we're talking about HPC now, the Holistic Progress
Yes,
Card.
yes.
It's no more of just a scorecard. We're talking about icons. We're talking about, the beginner, the progressive learner, and the proficient and the efficient learner. So we are telling don't give grades. We're giving them icons in the pre-primary, because then only they'll realize that, okay, in some areas they would be beginners, but in other areas they may be proficient, and then in some areas they would be perfect experts. So these are things which are developing, they're evolving over the years, and transformation is happening. In places, in schools, in some schools it's happening faster because the culture of the school is such. But in some it would take time, because for every teacher, every staff, every stakeholder to understand this, it does take some time. But yeah, it's not something which is impossible.
Yeah.
It would
One
happen.
thing more, ma'am, on my question from the teacher side, if I may ask. Like, okay, many things are, being imbibed. New things are coming from CBSE so that you can inculcate that in your schools. Kaushal Bodh, so many things. Do you think that we need to have expert teachers or, the subject matter expert kind of people also for this? Because it is a burden to the teacher, like already who is like teaching and doing other responsibilities also along with teaching. So whatever new comes, we give it to the same teacher. So it is just adding on to the responsibility. Like she was already like stuck with 7 to 1. She had defined periods. She knew that she has to go, she has to do this, 1 period free, 2 periods free, substitutions, everything. You know how the school environment is. But when something extra comes on that teacher, so how capable or how genuinely she'll be able to manage it?
It depends on school. It varies from school to school. In our system, we are doing it to the teachers who have lesser load. We are giving them Kaushal Bodh according to the proficiency levels. Because Kaushal Bodh is again about skills. Then there is skill education, almost 33 subjects, 34 subjects in 6 to 8, which are skill based. And those skills then go up to 9th and 10th, and then 11th and 12th also. You can then take a professional, career graph through these skills. It's a vocational skill. Okay. So we try to touch only those teachers who are lesser on the load, who will be doing this, because then it's an enjoyable activity. When it's a burden, when it's a forced responsibility, then there'll be no outcome.
Yes.
A teacher who is, relishing that job, who is enjoying that job, will be able to give you the learning outcome even in the students. So if the schools realize that this should, and this has been made, and CBSE also says that you don't need to have special teachers for this. Yeah, sometimes, like if you're teaching carpentry, take them to that workshop. If you're teaching them pottery, you call the potter at school, you let them define things, let them conduct their own melas. They're talking about the skill Kaushal Bodh melas also, the 3 projects every year that they'll be doing. And it's just a project-based thing. So why are we putting it like an examination or a learning or something where TLMs will be required? It's nothing like that. It's all hands-on activity. The better the teacher gets the children involved, the more learning outcome is to happen. Absolutely. If we take it like a burden, it is a burden. But if we take it like a learning journey, it would be definitely both very refreshing for the teacher as well as the students.
Yeah. Because somewhere when new things are added, the old things should be removed also.
It is being removed. Now
Yeah.
see, in our times, class 9th and 10th combined, we used to give board. Later, board syllabus was reduced. Now it is furthermore reduced. It's now part 1, part 2.
Yeah.
So it's all total reduction which is happening. It's more of concept building. Conceptual knowledge and contextual knowledge has become more important these days.
Yes. Ma'am, we talk a lot about academic success as we have spoken about it in our podcast also. But I'll ask you something very fundamental. How do we know that the child is actually happy?
That's a wonderful question. We know through the body language.
Okay.
We know if the child is happy making mistakes.
Yeah, right.
We know if the child is not afraid. We know if the child can open up. Because see, happiness is not just smiling.
Yeah.
Happiness is to be at ease, to have that faith no matter what. I have somebody as a support system with me. And that happiness cannot be created. It cannot be in any way shown outwardly. It
Or
is
be forced.
something, yeah, it cannot be posed. It is something which is very natural. It is there in your body language. Those children are very open, they are very easy, happy-go-lucky. That is why we talk less about IQ these days. We talk more about the EQ and the HQ and the SQ. That is the spiritual quotient. The more connected to their ethics and values, the more emotionally strong, that is the EQ, the more emotionally strong, the HQ will be highest. That is the happiness quotient will be highest.
We want our children to be happy.
Yeah, happy.
Their HQ should be the highest, I think.
Yes. Because if you ask children of this generation, what do you want to be? There'll be very few who will say, I want to be rich, or I want to be this, I want to be that. They just say, I want to be happy. So what are we searching for? Let us make them happy.
Yes.
We should make them happy.
And ma'am, if you have to give, you have to tell the parents that, these are the 3 habits which you inculcate and, it will make your child emotionally, it will strengthen the child emotionally. So what would it be? 3 daily habits.
The first would be uninterrupted listening without judgment. Because once you start making judgment, they'll stop speaking. The second one is to appreciate the effort than the failure. In every failure, there would have been some effort. So appreciate that. And the last would be to sit down and talk about the journey ahead. That is, if we are able to give quality time to our children, we would definitely be a confidant for them, and then we would allow them to grow. So that's what parents should be today.
To strengthen them emotionally. Yes. So, ma'am, after all these years of your experience, is there any one child you still remember? You remember many of them. We have spoken about them. But even one specific.
Recently also I had a child. Okay. I would name him. I love him.
Okay.
Ojas.
Ojas, okay.
As his name is. He is a blessed child. He was someone who was very grounded, very humane. And he just passed out class 12th. He was a CLAT topper of the city.
Oh,
and he got a 98% in the boards.
Amazing.
And he had a sad, just before his CLAT exam, he lost his mother and his grandfather. And yet he fought out. He was the most composed family member. The 5 days that his mother was there at the hospital, the school was literally there with him. And we learnt a lot through him. I'm still getting goosies when I'm talking about him. We learnt a lot through him that, life can be really harsh with you, but you don't complain. You do the dreams of someone who has gone. So he followed his mother's dream, and he's now in one of the best institutes pursuing law. He's striving to be an IAS officer, but I bless him, wholeheartedly. In fact, in my phone also, when I met him the first time, I'd written the blessed Ojas. So these are memories, I think, which we will carry with us. And there are many such children. There were many children. I have a child from my first batch also who had come in class 8, failed in the entrance exam, refused admission, but he was persistent. He came first in board topper in 10th, board topper in 12th, then he's a commissioned Air Force officer now, still in touch. So these are children who are not children. They are the fondest memories and the best Guru Dakshina any teacher could get.
And ma'am, someone who may not have topped but doing very well in the
Yeah, very well. There are many children. Presently in my school, I've started theatre classes through an alumni who was not a very brilliant student, but an exceptionally good actor. He's an actor now for movies, for serials, and he is conducting my theatre academy classes.
Oh, lovely.
He's making out time from his busy schedule,
to school.
And he's giving it back to school. And this month I have started those theatre classes. So it's not necessary that you need to be academically strong.
Yeah. Whatever you do best. You do it best in it.
Maybe stammering in their young days, but they are the best of orators.
Yes.
There are children who had difficult moments. I have even special children with me. The CWSN. I have more than 21 children as regular students in inclusive education, and they are the cutest bundle of joy. So they are all memories, and every day is not a challenge for me. It is a passion.
And how beautifully you connect with them, ma'am. Like, I mean, when I am hearing you, I can feel
No.
that, how well connected.
In fact, that's the reason why I have continued in this profession. I don't call it profession anymore. It's
It's
passion.
a passion for you.
It's passion.
Lovely.
It's passion.
And that can be seen, ma'am.
Yeah.
You can have tears for your children. You can smile for your children. It is a beautiful connection which you have with your children. It's amazing to see this.
No, they are also very amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No wonder I remember them.
Yeah. Ma'am, if there is one thing you have to tell the parents who are constantly putting pressure on the child, now also, for even after listening to our podcast, worried about their child marks, their future, and unknowingly they are putting pressure without realizing that they're putting pressure on their child, what would you like to tell them, the parents?
I would definitely like to tell them that their concern is through the love of their words. And that love should never change to fear.
Yes.
If it changes to fear, then it would lead to anxiety, and anxiety is the cause of major failures. And that's the cause of the breakdowns which we see in the students. It's our children. So our children need to be nurtured with care. They need to have that emotional stability, that no matter what, whatever the condition, I have someone at home whose shoulder can be there for me to cry on, who will stand by me through thick and thin, no matter what.
And I can communicate anything to them.
Yeah, I can communicate anything and everything to them.
Whether I've done it right or whether I've done it wrong. Yes.
And there would be no kind of a feeling of insecurity then in the child. The child will feel safe. A safe environment is the best environment.
Yeah. So instead of pressure, we should give them more confidence.
Yeah, confidence.
That they can come back to us.
Because in your childhood days, like if you are going to just harp on marks, you just think when the child goes into the competitive world, there's so much of competition there. A course like personally that I saw in my own child, like she was pursuing MBBS, she just completed. So there were moments when she was in total panic situations because obviously course is very vast and there is no end to what you can do and how much you can do, and there are moments when you feel no, everything is black and bleak
whether we
and
are
dark
made for this or not.
and I'll not make it. So every moment, in fact I learnt a lot from my own husband. Every moment that reassurance was there that beta, you just go for it. We are not bothered about what you get. We just want you to just make it a try. So that was immense strength. And I feel if we are able to do that in childhood days, in the schooling days, if we are going to be so persistent, then this will continue even in those competitive years. Then how will the child tackle? This is not something which is a pressure like a school where maybe there are 40 odd students and you don't perform and again you stand up. Here if you fall, you need somebody. And if the parent doesn't have that habit, where will the child go? The child will need a mentor somewhere. The child will then look out for wrong avenues.
Yes.
Commit big mistakes.
Yes.
So we should not allow that. We should allow ourselves to change only.
Yes.
And if we change for the better.
Absolutely.
That is something which we can do. It's not difficult.
Yes. We expect children who are so tender to change. And we ourselves are not willing to change at all. And ma'am, if there is one child who's watching us today who thinks that I am not good enough, like everyone, what would you like to say to such a child who's watching us, who believes that, I'm not good enough and I'm not like everyone?
See, I would tell that child good is never enough.
Yeah, that's right.
It's good, better, best.
Yes.
and never let it rest till the good is better and the
better is
better best.
best, yeah.
So first, with a humorous note, I'll tell him or her that good is never good enough. And then I would tell him that, see, each child has a different potential, a different path, a different destiny defined. The child's need is only to have the focus to find that destination and enjoy that journey. If the child starts enjoying the journey, then the destination would be reached with a very smooth path. If the child is perturbed and every moment the child is making comparisons and child is having lots of anxious moments in deciding that he or she is good or bad, that would destroy the journey. So just tell the child that enjoy the journey that you are in, put in your best,
Yes.
and then leave the rest.
Yes.
Yeah, be honest in your efforts.
Yes.
You cannot complain by not being honest in your
Yes.
efforts.
Even if you want to be an athlete, be honest to that.
Be honest.
Do your best.
Do your best.
You want to be a musician, you want to be an actor.
At the end of the day, when you're going to sleep, be grateful of the things that you had than being complaining of the things you didn't have.
Yeah.
That will change your attitude.
Yes.
That will definitely change, and you would see the lighter side of things.
Yes.
The heavier would
Because somebody is already praying for the things you have.
Yeah.
Not everybody will. Yeah. And ma'am, if you want to change just one thing, the way we educate our children, what would it be?
I would like to change the definition of success.
Yes. And what would it be? What would be the new definition?
Success would be a combination of curiosity, kindness, empathy, life skills, respect, and a lot more. Success does not mean only your scores. I would like to just wipe out that theory that you can be successful even by your attitude.
Yeah. And even after many failures you have experienced.
You are successful because you are enjoying what you are doing.
Yes.
You are not successful because others feel that you are successful. You are successful because you have reached the zenith which you had envisioned. So success is your own. Success cannot be anybody else's.
Yeah. Don't let anybody else define your success, right? Let's end it at that note. It was a pleasure having you, ma'am. It was. I had some great insights from you. You're a very, very wise person, a lot of wisdom. I'm sure that the listeners will also take some insights and inculcate the values which you have given here, because I've learned a lot from you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, ma'am. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
As I listened to Reena, ma'am, I think there are few things we should all take away from this conversation. First, we must remember that behind every report card is a child, and that child is much more than a number. Second, parents and schools are not on the opposite sides. We are on the same side, and the person at the center of that relationship is the child. Third, we need to start looking beyond marks. We need to ask our children not just what did you score, but also how are you feeling, what are you struggling with, and what are you excited about. And perhaps the most important takeaway is this: our children don't need us to build a perfect life for them. They need us to give them the emotional strength to navigate an imperfect one. And to everyone watching, if something in today's conversation made you pause, reflect, or think differently about your child, I would love to hear from you in the comments. This is Neha Sharma, and you have been watching Podcast Vibe with Neha, where we have good vibes and great conversation. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.